Starting on September 11th and lasting until the 17th, Russia has been carrying out its largest military exercises since Zapad 81, which took place under Soviet Premier Leonid Brezhnev in 1981. Official Kremlin statements say that there are 300,000 troops, 1,000 aircraft, 36,000 combat vehicles, and 80 ships involved throughout Siberia and the Far East. These numbers have been challenged, but military expert Edmund Uwe told UATV that it is all a matter of how you count.
It's clear that maybe they don't have 300,000 people moving on the ground, but they have 300,000 people involved. And when you count all the logistic necessary, the maintenance, and all the necessary manpower to feed these people, to lodge these people, to make the maintenance of the vehicle, for the ammunition, etc., clearly you don't have 150,000, you don't have 300,000 people moving. But that's totally realistic if you have 100,000 people moving on the ground as combat forces, that you have between 150,000 and 200,000 people total.
Hue warns that assumptions about untrained Russian conscripts is a dangerous stereotype. The Russian military of 2018 is not quite of the same quality as the US and some in Europe, but the gap has closed considerably since Soviet times. The message of Vostok should not be downplayed.
Russian army now is mainly based on professional forces and a mix of conscripts. And then they have trained the Western way. It means the real firepower today of the Russian army has nothing to see with the former Russian forces as existing during the time of Soviet Union. Now you can see their equipment, you can see the way they act. They are very close to the Western armies, to the Western armed forces. So their firepower and their military power is very close to ours.
A major factor in the exercises is the participation of China. The PLA has sent a contingent to the Sugal training ground in the Transbaikal region. This shows two seemingly conflicting but mutually important facts. One, China and Russia are forging closer ties. However, Beijing takes a very different approach from Moscow and sometimes comes into conflict. Hue explained that China is a growing power, but not looking for a fight.
One thing is, when you compare what they're able to do, China is becoming the second military power in the world. But you can say it's a ground power, but it's becoming a naval power as well. And it's really not surprising when you know them. China needs the natural resources of Russia. But China is a country that prefers to solve this type of problem by peaceful means. And we can see it right now, how they have bought some huge areas in Africa, how they are renting or buying some areas in Siberia as well. China is always playing on the long run and trying to avoid war at all costs.
The Vostok 2018 exercises will continue through the weekend, and Vladimir Putin has arrived in Siberia to inspect them following an Asian Economic Congress. Western military experts will certainly be very busy in the coming weeks and months figuring out exactly what the drills say about military forces in Eurasia.